Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and today we're going to be talking about corruptions coming in patch 11.1.5, where they sim for Warlock, AFD, Modestro, single target AOE, all that. Even if you're not playing a Warlock, there's just like some general information here that hopefully is probably pretty helpful for corruptions and all that, right? So getting right into it, April 22nd, which is in like 3 days from now, 11.1.5, don't move my camera here, does indeed go live, is coming Tuesday. Now, off the bat, unfortunately, the patch is incredibly time-gated, which is very sad. The patch, the whole patch is not out until June 3rd. But, I mean, it is what it is. I don't know, I'm just here making the video. May 20th is the big one with Horrific Visions being revisited. If you've done the Stormwind Orgrimmar ones, hey, we're doing them again. It's actually pretty fun. Did them on PTR a good bit. And with that comes Corruption. Corruption effects. If you played in BFA towards the end, Corruption's heralded as, I think overall a pretty big success once the vendor was put out without like a rotation on them. And once it was like the issues were fleshed out and worked through, pretty overall fun and enjoyable. Now, getting into what corruptions actually are, there are a couple articles on Wowhead right now, which you can see. I'll link them down below, written by Taznak, which they've been covering a lot of the actual corruption effects and things that are coming in this patch. Now, there are 6. So we're going to be looking at Twilight Dev, Echoing Void, Infinite Stars, Gushing Wounds, I guess, plural, Appendage, and Void Ritual. I guess it's singular because there's only one chant this time around. Now, these have changed over the past few weeks, tuning-wise and all that. And there are no expedient, masterful, stat-based effects like there were in BFA. These effects are also not stackable. They're just straight up, hey, you get 1, and that's it. You can't, like, stack Twilight Dev 5. It's a Helm enchant, just like how it was in Fire Land, whoever the Amir Jasil raid was, right? Twilight Dev, so they've changed them a little bit. Basically, Twilight Dev is the same, like, visually and stuff, but it does damage split among enemies in front of you, which is pretty disappointing. I wish it was just the amount of damage done to every enemy in front of you. It feels sort of unfortunate not having that. He actually hit on it towards the bottom of this article here too. Not having the actual just, hey, it's hitting for this amount on every target individually whenever it procs. Obviously, Twilight Dev back in the day was pretty OP, but I think with it coming out towards the end of mid to end of this season, I'd be okay with it proccing like a good bit of damage on every target. But regardless, Twilight Dev is indeed back. No stamina scaling there either. Echoing Void. The void can build up. Whenever it collapses, it does damage around you every 1 second until no stacks remain of the effect. It's RNG when it collapses or whenever it begins, like, pulse down from the higher stack count that it has. I've had it proc at 2 stacks. I've had it proc at 7 stacks, just for RNG. Infinite Stars, another big one from BFA. Changes made to this. So in BFA, the stack cap was 10, and it would never reset. When you hit 10 stacks, you were doing max damage, like the initial effect and the bonus damage, right? Sometimes you hit 6-7 stacks within half a minute of pulling the boss. Incredible RNG. Times you'd end the boss that's 8 minutes long at 5 stacks. RNG. They've changed that, so it's capped at 6 now, and when you hit 6, it resets. So you can't just go from 1 to 6 within half a minute pulling a boss and do like just 6 stack damage for the remainder of the boss. Sort of a fixed Infinite Stars. Stars was pretty polarizing in BFA as well. There were times people really liked the effect when it procced super quickly on pull and you had a bunch of stacks for the whole boss, and like that was where you saw players gapping other players on meters randomly on like Shadhar and certain other bosses if you proc stars early on for huge bonus effects. But I feel like with them capping it at 6 and having it reset, they don't really want that this patch, so we'll see where that goes. Gushing Wounds, the damage proc, it was pretty good in BFA, just very hard to find. One of the rarer corruptions where they came in the vendor. Decent damage overall there. It's a dot, single target. Twisted Appendage also spawns a 10D in. It does some Mind Flay, single target damage as well. You can't have multiple 10Ds active at once, which is very cool. And there's that. I believe it's affected by haste. Not totally sure. And Void Ritual is a stat proc, basically. You gain Void Ritual, giving your spells and abilities a chance to increase all secondary stats by a certain amount every second for 20 seconds. Pretty strong. Now, these have been buffed recently as well. So you have changes coming in the Void Ritual. No longer affected by haste. Does not receive increased proc based on party members also using it. Had no idea it was even a thing. They changed some others as well. Twilight Dev, damage reduced by 35 after each target hit. This should make it better in 2 to 3 target cleave, but on par with Echoing Void's Meteor, tuning it to 5 targets, trying to like balance them. Really initial tuning. Still think it'd be cooler just to have a hit for every target at full damage, but is what it is. Buffs to the greater and lesser enchants. To a similar extent, Echoing Void, greater lesser buffs. Blizzard, nerfing Gushing Wounds as well. Sorry, buffing Gushing Wounds by 186, 131. Infinite Stars, Greater Enchant. To clarify, there are greater and lesser ones here. Blue and Epic. Greater Enchant damage increased by 160. Per stack increased by 233. It should have a G here. I don't know why it doesn't. Basically, it buffs across the board here, right? And 10D proc benefit adjusted to benefit from haste. Now, jumping into Sims here, looking at Affliction Warlock, we've got all these indicators 2 and 1, mean like the greater versus lesser helm enchants and all that. You've got Void Ritual, Gushing Wounds, Infinite Stars, or Infinite, Finite, whatever. Twilight Dev, Appendage, Gushing Wounds, so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to Affliction, I've run these Sims in 1 target, 2 target, and then 10 target for a minute, 1, 2 being 5, respectively, and all that. When it comes to Affliction, you got to keep in mind you have Haunt and Shadow's Embrace damage modifiers, which increase the damage of damage-based effects, like trinkets, procs, whatever happens in-game, like those increase all damage, not just dots. So things like Gushing Wounds, Infinite Stars, even Twilight Dev, Appendage, Void Ritual, I guess Echoing Void, not Void Ritual, but all the damage-based effects are increased by Haunt and Shadow's Embrace. Void Ritual being the only stat-based effect once again, which is actually not increased by Haunt and Shadow's Embrace, but hey, it's just straight up good. So looking at one boss 5-minute Sims here for Affliction, you've got Void Ritual on top, ahead of Gushing Wounds and Infinite Stars by about 600 DPS, and that is pretty much within margin of error in the Sims. I mean, honestly, any of these three are fine when it comes to like a patchwork setting. I mean, you've got Gushing Wounds ahead of Stars by about 3k, which, you know, there's that. Looking at the high end of Infinite Stars, I mean, the high-end max here is 2,842. Gushing Wounds is 2,835. So, I mean, like, maybe a tiny bit higher for Infinite Stars if you high roll RNG and stuff. With it resetting at 6 stacks and not maintaining, or even going to 10 stacks in general, Gushing Wounds is more consistent. Wounds was honestly pretty good in BFA as well. It was one of the harder corruption effects to find on most things. If you got like a blue pair of bracers, you wore them over like current epic ones with Gushing Wounds on them, on the blue pair respectively, because of how good it was, right? So, I mean, putting all that aside, honestly, there's not a huge disparity here between all of them. You're looking at 2.586 million about. If you're looking at like just the baseline profile here, also Void, just pretty low in general, Echoing Void. You're looking at about a 2.9 to 3% DPS gain roughly in single target, which is not terrible. It's just coming out in a month or so from the patch, which is in about 4 days. So you'll have a raid buff again through the Renown line at that point, and then I'd assume probably like 3 or 4 more eye levels across the average player. So you're looking at a bit of bump, also at that point, give or take, in pure single target. Void Ritual, though, coming out on top, being the biggest increase stat-wise. Now, the good thing about that, Void Ritual being the stat-based effect, being the best in single target, is that it also gets even better when you factor in more targets. 2 targets, Void Ritual is ahead by about 33k of Twilight Dev than Void Ritual and Gushing Wounds. And to clarify, I didn't change talents for the AOE Sims in a minute here. It's fine. It won't really change anything or affect anything respectively, but there's that. So 5 minutes, 2 targets. You've got Void Ritual on top ahead of Twilight Dev, which is pretty cool to see actually, by about 34,000 DPS. Void Ritual 1 being behind Twilight Dev by about 20k, so that Void Ritual stat effect being pretty strong. Then Gushing Wounds, Infinite Stars, so on and so forth. Wounds and Stars, 10D, all that. Basically being single target effects, where you're not really going to get much value out of them with 2 targets being present. They can proc on 2 targets, but I mean, it doesn't spread to 1 if 1 procs and the other, so on and so forth. And you've got, like, you know, Echoing Void on here being just pretty bad. Echoing Void also requiring you to be a melee, which I don't want to do unless I have to, and, you know, they're sad. Void was very good during, like, week 1 of BFA when Corruption hit. You had everybody standing in melee for a proc. It was very good. But unfortunately, or if you're a fan of it this time around, not looking that strong. So, and 2 targets for Affliction, Void Rit on top, Twilight Dev being second here, which is pretty cool to see. Everyone likes Twilight Dev. No tank stamina effects that are affecting this time, just solid in general. Followed by Void Rit 1, Gushing Wounds, Infinite Stars. You go to 10 targets a minute. Void Ritual on top. Number 2, followed by number 1. And it is ahead of the next best Helm Enchant by about 230,000 DPS. About 2.1%. And once again, I didn't run AOE talents here. It won't really change anything. It's fine. If you want to go run them, it's okay, but not a big deal. Ahead by about 230k. It might even honestly push it more towards Ritual, changing to more AOE-based talents here in general. But you've got Wounds, Appendage, Twilight Dev sitting right here. I don't know why Twilight Dev... Where's Twilight Dev 2? Oh, there. Honestly, like, it's within margin of error I guess. Well, actually, it's not. I'm not really sure what's going on there, actually. But honestly, I don't know. RNG is RNG. It's not bad, but like on the high end, Void Writ is just a go-to for Affliction. And that's more or less a trend here for the next few Sims as well. It's just really good. Solid stat effect. Stats obviously increase single target relevancy. But when you're hitting multiple targets with spells and things, stat increase affects all of them universally. So I was hoping to see TD a little higher here, honestly. I want to look into this more and see what's going on here. Yeah, large margin of error here. Could just be proc based, honestly. I mean, if you're factoring in 10 targets and stuff, if I ran it again, might even have TD 2 ahead of 1. I don't know. It is what it is. The point being, Void Writ is still on top by a substantial margin for Affliction and 10 targets. Okay. Shifting gears, getting into Demonology Sims. Unsurprisingly, just very similar to how Affliction was, Void Ritual is indeed on top in 5 minute, 1 target Sims. Not as much, though, comparatively to, like, let's see, Affliction, for example, right? Affliction has, like, as far as, like, disparity between the two, you're looking at, like, almost a wash between Void Ritual, Gushing Wounds, and Infinite Stars being a little bit worse. Once again, like I mentioned, Affliction has those Haunt, Shadow's Embrace damage modifiers tied to it, right? Demonology doesn't have that. So you have less disparity here because Haunt, Shadow's Embrace increasing wounds, stars, dev, all that damage comparatively to not buffing Void Ritual. Demonology, though, Void Ritual on top by 20k, followed by Gushing Wounds, Infinite Stars sitting at 5k less, 25k less overall, dev being by 27k less overall, so on and so forth. Unsurprisingly, Void Ritual on top, once again, being very good. Across the board, right? Now, when it comes to 2 target Sims for Demonology, stat cleave, all that kind of stuff, Void Writ on top by about 40k. Twilight Dev being second highest here. Similar to Affliction, actually. Jumping a good bit, being pretty cool. Oh, I like seeing Twilight Dev up there. Pretty cool, even just visually. I never really got to play it in BFA. It's basically just like a tank thing. With, you know, pet tanks proccing it, high stamina, and nuking packs into oblivion. Now, maybe I'll play it. But Void Writ, Gushing, like Void Writ 1 to clarify, being very good also. Like 2 on top, 1 being this good, literally. Gushing Wounds, Infinite Stars, so on and so forth. Infinite Stars, Wounds, not having any 2 target relevancy. They can both proc on different targets and stuff, obviously, right? But they're not going to like proc on one and spread to the other, guaranteed every time. It's just RNG. So Void Ritual on top here by about 40k, about a 1% difference, give or take. And if you jump to the 10 target 1 minute sim, you've got Void Writ 2 on top by about 300k, followed by Void Writ 1, lesser enchant, by about 182. Then Gushing Wounds, Appendage 2, Appendage 1, all this stuff, but being nowhere near as good as Void Ritual, right? Void Ritual having that just secondary side effect across the board, increasing damage on single target abilities and patchwork settings, but also bringing value to these, 10 target, 5 target, 2+ target settings, all the same as well. Void Writ being very good. Also, not like Echoing Void needing to be in melee or Infinite Stars needing to stack effects or random whatever. It's just good, right? If Gushing Wounds procs when a target's dying, you get no real value. I guess similar to Void Rip, but like you can carry us into the next pack. It's just good. Void Writ's just strong, right? So, unsurprisingly, when it comes to Demonology, Void Writ on top. You can make a case for Twilight Dev in 2 target settings. Once again, you're going to be like obtaining... I don't know how hard it is to obtain the corruptions. If you're limited to like buying 1 per week, depending on visions you clear, I actually don't know. I don't know if they've been clarified yet, but you're going to be getting like, I mean, you're going to buy Void Writ if you're playing Affliction or Demonology across the board, like regardless, right? It's the best in single target, the best in AOE. And honestly, even if you can only afford lesser Void Writ for whatever reason, if it's like too hard to get the bigger ones week 1 for some people, it's still like your fifth best option in like pure single target. Like Twilight Dev 2, Stars 2, Wounds 2, Void Writ 2. You go into 2 target, it's even better. You go into mass AoE, there's a disparity, but it's still very, very good. Right, so Void Writ, once again, exceptionally strong for Demonology. Unsurprising. Now, the last sim we have here, Destruction. Once again, I didn't change talents for these. They're all just playing single target stuff. It doesn't matter. Like, you can go in there and change it if you want for AoE stuff. It's not going to change what's happening with, like, raw and chance stuff. It probably just adds more value to Ritual, honestly, being real. But regardless, when it comes to a single target for Destruction, 1 target, 5 minutes, we're looking at about a 13k disparity, favoring Void Ritual again, being in the #1 spot, followed by Gushing Wounds, Infinite Stars, Appendage. You've heard it before, it's happening again. Wounds, Stars, Appendage, so on and so forth. But Void Ritual is indeed on top as the best overall corruption-based Helm enchant for Destruction in single target. Once again, 13k disparity, favoring Void Ritual. less than Affliction, or sorry, more than Affliction once again, because Haunt, Shadows Embrace modifiers, but not as much of a disparity as like Demonology, being 20k, 13k here. So, but if you're looking for one universal enchant, you can't go wrong with Void Ritual, depending on whatever spec you're playing. It really doesn't matter. But Wounds, not a bad secondary if you're looking at playing single target for whatever reason, as Destro. Factoring in 2 targets here, unsurprisingly, Void Ritual also on top. Once again, Twilight Dev, sitting pretty close to it here. I guess the change they made to it, like buffing the damage, but decreasing the amount it cleaves, or something like that on 2 targets, whatever they did to it, actually makes it pretty solid in like stacked 2 target cleave. But like we said, Twilight Dev is stack cleave also. If you have Void Rip proccing and 1 target's here, 1 target's here, off the camera, but like, 30 yards apart, you're going to hit them for the max Void Rip buff regardless, as long as the effect's rolling on you, right? Twilight Dev needs to have them basically stacked or in a line, which, like, you got to cleave them both. And if you're going back to how Twilight Dev was back in the day, sometimes they proc and go fly off in that direction and pull a pack. So, I mean, like, if it's not going in the right direction, then, well, But it is cool seeing Twilight Dev pretty close to, like, being the best, close-ish to being the best enchant in, like, 2 target based settings, right? It's 40k off when it comes to like Affliction and 2 target, I guess 33k, give or take. 38k for Demonology, and only about 12k for Destro, actually, too. But once again, stack versus spread. Then you've got Wounds, Stars, Void Ritual, all that in, the remaining 2 target stuff. And when it comes to AoE, once again, unsurprisingly for Destro, you got Void Ritual on top by 360k at 2, followed by the worst one, Lesser Enchant, at rank 1, 208k. And a pretty large disparity here. You're looking at Wounds being 140k worse comparatively, 130k, 140k, 50, 60. Yeah. So I mean, TLDR, like at this current point in time, we have about a month until these hit, but you can't go wrong buying Void Rituals. Depending on what you're doing or how hard visions are gated, if lesser enchants are gated behind like if greater ones are gated behind like progression or whatever, honestly it's fine buying Void Rit 1. Like we said, Void Rit 1's like still like your 5th best option. You're gaining, I mean with Void Rit 1 you're still gaining a solid, what, like where is it, where'd it go, 50k, right? And like pure single target, the max gain is 80, but I mean like you're still gaining a lot, right? And the max gain is Void Rit 2. So depending on how acquiring these goes, depending on how tough it is to do all that, Void Rit is, I'd say, easily the answer. But do I want to play with Twilight Dev? You're damn right I do. So we'll see what I end up buying first. So like always, thanks for watching, guys. It wraps it up, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it helped clarify a little bit on corruption and things heading into the patch and all that. Honestly, like we are a couple days away, but we're about a month or so away from corruption. I'm not a huge fan of gating everything behind this, like just time getting things in the patch, but it is what it is. I'm pumped for visions. They're cool. They're fun on PTR, and hey, it'll be a bit of a power bump in the patch. Maybe make farm a little easier, push some higher keys, and yeah, we'll go from there. So if you guys want any of the Sims, they'll be linked down in the description below, as well as any week wars add-ons, Twitch, Discord links down below, as well as up here. A massive thank you, like every video, to all my supporters on Patreon as well. Guys, thank you for all support. Million times. Every video, I appreciate it, guys. Thank y'all. It allows me to keep doing what I'm doing, making videos and all that, and just for all support, guys, I'm incredibly thankful in your debt. I appreciate y'all. If you're looking at supporting a Patreon, should also be a link up here, so it's down below. So we shall see. I would expect Blizzard to probably buff and nerf these a little bit heading in the next few weeks. Typically when there's like one enchant or one of anything that's like universally the best and just ahead by that much, it doesn't go live like that. So we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if Void Rit gets hit a bit, but I mean Void Rit is the one corruption, I guess in a sense, that has like single target and AoE relevancy. Like they all work in single target, but like I mean Stars is better in single target, Wounds is better in single target, Twilight is better in AoE, Echoing Void just bad in general, but probably just better in AoE when it gets buffed. And Tentacle Tendy, who cares? I don't know, but we'll see where it goes. Got a month till it launches, but only a couple days of the patch. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see y'all in the patch. And yeah, if you like the video, like and sub. Helps out a ton. And I'll catch y'all again soon on stream. Peace.